We start with our focus on the Latino vote. Every 2 years, political pundits rediscover Latino voters, and here in Arizona in particular, speculate about whether this is the year the fastest growing bloc of potential voters makes a difference in the election results. Our first guest, Joe Garcia of Chicanos por la Causa, believes this could be the year, and he has a fairly large stake in the outcome. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks, Brad.
Good to see you. As executive director of the CPLC Action Fund, you're spending $10 million to register new Latino voters in the Latino Loud outreach campaign. Now, some viewers might assume this is a Democratic-leaning campaign. Is it nonpartisan?
Well, first of all, we're investing $10 million in our democracy to empower the Latino vote in a nonpartisan effort. We don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. We just want to make sure that you vote, because previously, Latinos historically have underperformed at the ballot box. We're out to change this with this Get Out the Vote campaign.
Now, you provided compelling data from the 2018 midterms. Latino voters are way underperforming, as you said. They're 23% of eligible voters. Only 13% of projected general election voters were Latino. There's been a lot of voter registration, really, over the last decade. Why hasn't gotten maybe as far as you'd expected to?
Well, you know, we've been going door to door. We're upwards more than 800,000 door knocks trying to get in contact people, tell them why their vote is important. And what everybody is uniformly saying is it's the first time anyone's ever knocked on their door to tell them their vote is important, whether it be a campaign or a candidate or initiative or otherwise. So this is really making the difference. We've seen in the primary, we've seen some very positive results. More than 30,000 increase in Latino votes in this midterm primary than the previous primary election. I mean, that's a big bump. And what's interesting is nearly 6 out of 10 are low propensity voters. In other words, they've missed 1 or 2 of the previous elections and they voted in this primary. Now we're looking to carry that over to the general election.
Okay, so voter registration for the general election ends on Tuesday. How many new voters have you registered?
We've registered more than 33,000 new Latino voters, and we're hoping to get upwards of 35 or above. But we're looking for an increase in voter participation by Latinos by 50,000 or more. And we're pretty confident we're going to get there, which could be a big deciding factor in many races.
In those races. Let's talk about another assumption. Latino voters, as you know, are painted with a very broad brush. Latino voters in Phoenix are no different from Latino voters in San Antonio, no different from Miami. How are Latino voters different here in Arizona from those other places?
Yeah, Latino voters are very different, you know, not just in Arizona as opposed to Latinos in Florida, who are largely Cubans and Colombians, or Latinos in New York, which is Puerto Ricans, of course. But even here regionally, locally, Latinos are different in Phoenix than they are in Tucson. Latinos are different in the same family. You may have some very conservative Latinos voting and some rather progressive Latinos also voting, younger, especially younger, more progressive Latino voters. So Latinos are just, believe it or not, they're just people with different viewpoints and different opinions and different political leanings.
And I think these polling results we're going to put up on the screen now kind of speak to that. Here's what the top 5 issues for Latino voters, and those issues have shifted. Number 1 is inflation. Number 2, crime and gun violence. That's now risen to 2nd. Jobs is number 3. Healthcare is number 4. And for the first time, abortion is among the top 5 issues. 80% of respondents said abortion should remain legal. Notably, immigration is not in the top 5. That polling was provided by Unidos US and Mi Familia Vota. What's happened to the immigration issue? Why is it de-emphasized now?
Yeah, I think the media is obsessed with immigration. Immigration is important among the Latino community, of course, but it's not the only issue. And sometimes what happens is the obsession on immigration sucks all the oxygen out of the room, and we're not talking about the economy. We're not talking about affordable housing. We're not talking about health care or about education equity. You know, we're just stuck on immigration. And you've seen the ads. Many of the political ads are stuck on immigration. And all these other issues are not being discussed. But these are the issues that matter to not only Latino families, but families throughout Arizona and throughout the country. But we also need to know that for Latinos, we start at a different place. When we're talking about affordable housing, we start a different place. Education, it's by zip code. Where there's no equity in that. So we all care about the same issues, but we're not starting from the same spot.
So you might look at that at face value and say, oh, so I see Latinos could be up for grabs, really, for either party, Democrats, Republicans. You hear Republicans hitting those issues hard. Would that be a fair reading or not?
Well, Latinos still lean heavily towards Democrats, but not as heavily as they've done in past elections. And among younger Latinos, what they're saying is actually they're kind of tired of both parties. They're tired of the two-party system. More and more are registering as independents. They see the two-party system as somewhat of a polarization failure, and they want results, and they feel like neither party has delivered results.
Interesting. So let's end where we started. Is this the year the Latino vote makes a difference?
This is the first time I've ever made this prediction, and I've been asked this many, many years. This is the year that, for once and for all, you're no longer be able to win an election or campaign without the Latino vote. Yeah, this is the year.
Joe Garcia, bold prediction. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.